The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, its vibration breaking the silence of the empty house. He stared at the screen, reading the message for the third time, feeling lonely. 3 days ago, his wife had kissed him goodbye at the front door, her suitcase packed for what she called a crucial business conference in Miami. Her company was pitching to a major client, she'd explained, and her presence was absolutely necessary. He'd watched her rehearse her presentation the night before, noting how she'd gotten her hair done that afternoon and bought a new dress, unusually elaborate preparation for a work trip. Now, sitting in their kitchen with the remnants of his solitary dinner still on the table, he typed back, "I miss you too. How's the conference going?" The reply came quickly. "Boring meetings all day. Wish you were here." He set the phone down and walked to the window, looking out at the darkening street. 24 hours earlier, everything had been different. 24 hours earlier, he'd still been living in blissful ignorance, believing his marriage of 7 years was solid, trusting, built on honesty. Then David had called. David, his college roommate, who worked as a pilot and happened to be passing through the airport terminal when he spotted her. Not alone. Not with her female colleague Sarah, whom she'd mentioned would be attending. No, David had seen her laughing, her hand resting comfortably on the arm of a man he didn't recognize. Tall, well-dressed, clearly comfortable with each other in a way that transcended professional boundaries. "I wasn't sure if I should tell you," David had said, his voice heavy with reluctance. "But if it were me, I'd want to know." They were heading toward the gate together, and man, the way they were looking at each other. "I'm sorry." He'd thanked David, hung up, and sat in stunned silence for an hour. The rational part of his brain had tried to construct innocent explanations. Maybe it was a colleague. Maybe David had misread the situation. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. But then he'd opened her laptop, something he'd never done before, had never felt the need to do. Her email was already logged in, and it hadn't taken long to find the thread. Months of messages. Intimate words. Plans made in secret. Hotel reservations under different names. The man's name was Julian, and he worked in the same building but for a different company. The affair had been going on for 4 months. 4 months of lies, of late nights at the office, of team dinners that never included him. For months while he'd been completely, stupidly blind. His phone buzzed again. "Are you managing okay without me? I'll be home Friday night." He picked up the phone, his fingers surprisingly steady. "I'm fine. Keeping busy. Can't wait to see you. Miss you so much. Love you." The words that should have warmed his heart now felt like acid. "Love you too," he typed back, each letter an act of performance. He set the phone down and opened his laptop, pulling up the private investigator's preliminary report. After David's call, he'd acted quickly, hiring someone recommended by his lawyer brother. The PI had worked fast, photos, time-stamped and geotagged. His wife and Julian checking into the Ocean View Resort. Dinner at an expensive restaurant. Walking on the beach at sunset, his arm around her waist. The evidence was comprehensive, damning, irrefutable. But he wasn't going to confront her over the phone. He wasn't going to give her the opportunity to craft lies, to manipulate the narrative, to control the situation from a distance. No, he had a better plan. One that had been forming in his mind since the moment of discovery, crystallizing into something both just and final. She wanted to play games? She wanted to deceive him while sending loving messages? Fine. He could play too. And when the game ended, it would be on his terms, in front of the people whose opinions she valued most. His phone buzzed one more time. "Good night, honey. Sweet dreams." He smiled, though there was no humor in it. "Good night. See you Friday." Friday. 2 more days. 2 more days of pretending, of collecting evidence, of making arrangements. 2 more days until everything changed. Thursday morning arrived with unexpected sunshine, the kind of perfect weather that mocked his inner turmoil. He'd barely slept, spending most of the night finalizing his plan, making calls, sending emails. By the time dawn broke, everything was in motion. His first call was to his lawyer brother, Thomas, who arrived at the house by 8 o'clock with a briefcase full of documents and a grim expression. "You're sure about this?" Thomas asked, spreading papers across the dining room table. Once you set this in motion, there's no going back. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, he replied, signing where Thomas indicated. Divorce papers. Financial separation documents. A detailed accounting of their shared assets. Everything prepared and ready. Thomas had always been the cautious one, the brother who thought through every angle. The public confrontation. Are you absolutely sure? You could do this privately, spare everyone the drama. She spent 4 months making a fool of me, he said, his voice quiet but firm. She's lied to my face every single day. She deserves to be exposed for exactly what she is, and I deserve witnesses to the truth. Her parents deserve to know what kind of person their daughter has become. Thomas nodded slowly. I understand. Just be prepared for the fallout. After Thomas left, he spent the morning cleaning the house, not because it needed it, but because he needed something to do with his hands. Every room held memories that now felt contaminated. The couch where they'd watched movies together. The kitchen where she'd taught him to make her grandmother's recipes. The bedroom where they'd shared 7 years of intimacy, now poisoned by the knowledge of her betrayal. His phone buzzed constantly with her messages. Updates about fake meetings. Complaints about boring presentations that didn't exist. Each message was a masterclass in deception, and he responded to every single one with carefully crafted replies that gave nothing away. Had lunch with Sarah. She says hi. Tell her I said hello. What did you have? The lies came so easily to her. Sarah wasn't even in Miami, he'd checked. She was posting pictures from her son's baseball game on social media, 3 states away. In the afternoon, he drove to his in-laws' house. Richard and Patricia had been like second parents to him, welcoming him into their family with open arms when he and their daughter had married. This conversation would destroy them, but they deserved the truth. Patricia answered the door with her usual warm smile. What a lovely surprise. Come in, come in. Is everything all right? He'd practiced this speech a dozen times, but actually saying the words was harder than he'd imagined. They sat in the living room, the same room where he'd nervously asked for their daughter's hand in marriage, and he told them everything. He showed them the evidence, the emails, the photos, the hotel reservations. Patricia's face crumbled. Richard's jaw tightened, his hands clenching into fists. For several long minutes, no one spoke. Tomorrow, he said finally. I'm asking you to come to dinner tomorrow night at our house. 7 o'clock. Please, I need you there. I need witnesses to what I'm about to do. You're going to confront her, Richard said, his voice hollow. I'm going to show her that actions have consequences. That you can't destroy a marriage and walk away unscathed. I'm going to give her the same courtesy she gave me, a public revelation with no warning, no chance to prepare her lies. Patricia was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. She's my daughter. How could she do this? How could she throw away everything for what? I don't know, he admitted. And honestly, I don't care anymore. Whatever her reasons, whatever justified it in her mind, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's over, and tomorrow night, everyone will know exactly why. He left them with the dinner invitation, knowing they would come. They were decent people who valued honesty and integrity, values they'd apparently failed to instill in their daughter. Back home, he made one final call to the private investigator. I need the video file by tomorrow afternoon. Can you do that? Already done, the PI replied. I'm emailing it now. Hotel lobby security footage showing them checking in. Restaurant surveillance showing them having dinner. And the footage from the contact I have at the hotel, them entering the room together. Time-stamped, dated, crystal clear. It's all there. Thank you. For what it's worth, the PI said, I'm sorry you're going through this. But you're handling it right. Evidence doesn't lie. People do. That evening, he ordered pizza and sat in front of the television, not really watching whatever was on the screen. His phone buzzed. One more day. Can't wait to be home. I've missed you so much. He stared at the message for a long time before responding. I've missed you too. Tomorrow night, let's have a special dinner. Your parents are coming. Want to celebrate you being home. That sounds perfect. You're so sweet. I love you. See you tomorrow, he typed back, leaving off the automatic love you too that had ended their messages for 7 years. Tomorrow. Everything ended tomorrow. Friday afternoon stretched like an eternity. He'd taken the day off work, telling his boss he needed to handle a family emergency, which wasn't technically a lie. The hours crawled by as he prepared for the evening, each minute feeling like an hour. The dining room table was set for 5. Fine china that had been a wedding gift from her grandmother. Crystal glasses they usually reserved for holidays. The irony wasn't lost on him, using the symbols of their marriage to host its funeral. At 3 o'clock, he picked up the video file from the private investigator's office. The PI had compiled everything into a 12-minute presentation, complete with dates, timestamps, and locations. Watching it in the privacy of the office, he felt his resolve harden. Every smile, every intimate gesture, every moment of casual affection between his wife and Julian was documented in brutal clarity. "You've got everything you need?" the PI asked. "More than enough. Thank you for working so quickly. Good luck tonight. You're doing the right thing." By 4 o'clock, he was connecting his laptop to the television, testing the setup 3 times to make sure everything worked perfectly. The video would play on the large screen in the living room, visible from the dining room. No technical difficulties would save her from this. At 5:30, he started preparing dinner. Her favorite meal, herb roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, roasted vegetables. He cooked mechanically, his mind elsewhere, his hands moving through familiar motions. She'd taught him how to make this exact meal during their first year of marriage. Another memory poisoned. 6 o'clock. His phone buzzed. Landing in 20 minutes. Home soon. Drive safe. Dinner will be ready. 6:30. Her parents arrived, both looking like they'd aged years since yesterday. Patricia's eyes were red and puffy. Richard's face was stone. "Are you absolutely certain this is how you want to do this?" Patricia asked, her voice trembling. "I am." She made choices. Those choices have consequences. Tonight, everyone sees the truth. They took their places in the living room, silent and waiting. The house felt like a courtroom, heavy with anticipation of judgment. 6:50. The sound of a car in the driveway. A door closing. Keys jingling. He stood in the kitchen, his heart pounding despite his outward calm. This was it. The moment of truth. The end of everything they'd built together. The front door opened. "Honey, I'm home." Her voice was bright, cheerful, completely unsuspecting. He heard her rolling suitcase clacking across the hardwood floor of the entryway. "In the kitchen," he called back, keeping his voice neutral. She appeared in the doorway, her face lighting up when she saw him. She looked good, rested, happy, glowing with the satisfaction of 4 days spent with her lover. She'd worn the new dress, he noticed. The one supposedly for business meetings. She crossed the kitchen and wrapped her arms around him, rising on her toes to kiss him. He allowed it, feeling nothing. It was like being kissed by a stranger who tasted like betrayal. "I missed you so much," she said, pulling back to look at his face. "It was such a long week." "I'm sure it was," he replied. "Your parents are here. They're excited to see you." Her smile flickered slightly. "Oh, you didn't tell me they were coming tonight. I'm not really prepared for." "It'll be fine. Come on, let's not keep them waiting." He took her hand, another performance, and led her to the living room. Her parents stood when she entered, their faces carefully neutral. She hugged them both, chattering about her trip, not noticing the stiffness of their responses. "Let me just freshen up real quick," she said. "Give me 10 minutes. "Actually," he said, his voice stopping her mid-turn. "Before you do that, there's something I want to show you. All of you. Please, sit down." Something in his tone made her pause. He saw the first flicker of uncertainty cross her face. "What's going on?" "Just sit. Please." They all took seats, her on the couch, her parents in chairs, him standing near the television with the remote in his hand. The room was silent except for the ticking of the antique clock on the mantel. "I want to start by saying that I loved you," he began, his voice steady. "For 7 years, I loved you with everything I had. I trusted you completely. I believed in us, in our marriage, in our future together." "Why are you talking like that?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. "Why are you using past tense? What's happening? You texted me Wednesday night. Asked if I was feeling lonely. And I replied that I missed you too." He paused, watching her face. "I did miss you. The you I thought I was married to. But that person doesn't exist, does she?" The color drained from her face. "I don't understand what you're—" "Yes, you do." He pressed play on the remote. The television screen came to life, and the first image appeared. Security footage from the airport, dated and time-stamped from 4 days ago. His wife and Julian, standing close together, his hand on her lower back, her head tilted toward him in obvious intimacy. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." But the video continued, relentless and damning. The video played in devastating silence. 12 minutes that destroyed 7 years of marriage, each second more condemning than the last. Airport footage showed them checking in together at the counter, sharing a laugh over something on his phone. Hotel lobby surveillance captured them entering the Ocean View Resort, her hand clasped in his. The timestamp read Tuesday evening, 7:43 p.m., exactly when she'd texted him that she'd arrived safely and was heading to bed early after the long flight. Restaurant footage from Wednesday night showed them at an intimate corner table, wine glasses raised in a toast, leaning across the table toward each other with the unmistakable body language of lovers. The same Wednesday she'd sent him a photo of room service dinner with the caption, "Too tired to go out," ordering in and going over presentation notes. But the most damning footage came last. Thursday afternoon, 2:17 p.m. Hotel hallway camera. His wife and Julian, emerging from a room together. She was adjusting her dress. He was straightening his collar. They paused outside the door to kiss, a long, unhurried kiss that spoke of comfort and familiarity. Then they walked down the hallway hand in hand, disappearing around the corner. When the screen went dark, the silence in the room was absolute. His wife sat frozen on the couch, her face white, tears streaming down her cheeks. Patricia was crying openly now, her hand over her mouth. Richard stared at his daughter with an expression of profound disappointment. "How long?" Richard finally asked, his voice rough. "How long has this been going on?" She couldn't seem to form words, just shook her head mutely. "For months," he answered for her. 4 months of lies. "I hired an investigator after a friend spotted you at the airport. Took him less than 2 days to find everything. The emails. The text messages. The hotel reservations. All of it." She found her voice, desperate and pleading. "It's not what it looks like. Stop." The word cut through the air like a blade. "Don't insult me with more lies. I've read the emails. I've seen the messages. I know everything. Every late night at the office, every team dinner, every business trip. All lies. Please," she sobbed. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what?" Patricia's voice was sharp with pain and anger. "Explain how you threw away your marriage? Explain how you lied to your husband, to us, to everyone? What possible explanation could there be?" His wife turned to her mother, reaching out, but Patricia pulled back. "Mom, please. How could you?" Patricia's voice broke. "How could you do this? We raised you better than this. We taught you about commitment, about honesty, about integrity. What happened to you?" "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, the words tumbling out frantically. We worked together, we became friends, and then it became more, and I didn't know how to stop it." "You didn't want to stop it," he interrupted, his voice cold. "You had 4 months to stop it. 4 months to tell me the truth. For months to end your affair and try to save our marriage. Instead, You chose to lie to my face every single day while you continued sleeping with him. I love you. No. He shook his head. You don't love me. You can't love someone and betray them like this. Whatever you feel, it isn't love. Love is honest. Love is faithful. Love doesn't book hotel rooms with someone else while texting "I miss you so much" to their spouse. She buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. He felt nothing. No sympathy, no second thoughts, no wavering in his resolve. That was perhaps the saddest part, that she'd killed whatever love he'd felt so thoroughly that watching her cry moved him not at all. Richard stood up slowly, his face a mask of controlled anger. We're leaving, Patricia. Dad, please. She reached for him, but he stepped back. You are not the daughter we raised, he said, his voice heavy with disappointment. The daughter we raised valued honesty. She kept her promises. She understood what commitment meant. I don't know who you've become, but right now, I don't want to. That's not fair. Fair? Richard's voice rose slightly. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair to him? He gestured toward his son-in-law. Was it fair to make vows in front of God and family and then break them repeatedly? Was it fair to lie to everyone who loves you? Don't talk to me about fair. Patricia stood, gathering her purse, wiping her eyes. We need some time, she said to her daughter, her voice thick with tears. I can't look at you right now. I need time to process this. To understand how my daughter could become someone I don't recognize. Mom, please don't leave me. But her parents were already moving toward the door. He followed them, leaving his wife sobbing on the couch. At the front door, Patricia turned to him, placing a trembling hand on his arm. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry she did this to you. You deserved better. You deserved honesty and faithfulness, and she gave you neither. Thank you for coming tonight, he said. I know it wasn't easy. You're a good man, Richard said, shaking his hand firmly. You handled this with more dignity than most would have. Whatever you need from us going forward, legal support, character witnesses, anything, you have it. They left, and he stood in the doorway for a moment, watching their car disappear down the street. Then he returned to the living room. She was still on the couch, but she'd stopped crying. Her face was blotchy and red, her eyes swollen. She looked up at him with desperation. What now? She asked hoarsely. What happens now? He sat down across from her, maintaining distance. Now. Now you pack your things and leave. Tonight. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. Maybe Julian has room for you. Maybe you can get a hotel. I don't care. But you're not staying here. This is my house too. Actually, it's not. Not anymore. He pulled papers from the folder Thomas had left on the coffee table. These are divorce papers. My lawyer brother was very thorough. Given the evidence of your infidelity, this will be a fairly straightforward process. You're not entitled to alimony. We'll split the assets equitably, but this house stays with me. I inherited the down payment from my grandmother, if you recall. She stared at the papers like they were a death sentence. You've already filed. Not yet. I'll file Monday morning. You have the weekend to find a lawyer if you want one, but I'd suggest you don't fight this. The evidence is overwhelming. All you'll do is rack up legal fees and drag this out. What about trying to work through this? Counseling? Don't I at least deserve a chance? No, he said simply. You don't. You had 4 months of chances. Every morning you woke up next to me, you had a chance to tell the truth. Every time you looked me in the eye and lied, you had a chance to stop. You made your choices. Now you live with the consequences. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. A mistake is accidentally double-booking plans. This wasn't a mistake. This was a series of calculated, deliberate choices to betray your marriage vows. Don't minimize it by calling it a mistake. She was crying again, but he was already standing, done with the conversation. You have 1 hour to pack whatever you need for now. We can arrange for you to get the rest of your things next week. I'll be in my study. When you leave, put your key on the kitchen counter. Please, she whispered. Please don't do this. He paused at the doorway, looking back at her one last time. You did this. You destroyed us. I'm just refusing to pretend otherwise. He sat in his study, listening to the sounds of her moving through the house. Drawers opening and closing. Closet doors. The roll of her suitcase across the floor. Each sound was a small punctuation mark on the end of their marriage. 53 minutes after he'd left her in the living room, he heard the front door open and close. Car engine starting. Tires on the driveway. Then silence. He waited 5 minutes before emerging from the study. The house felt different, emptier, but somehow cleaner. As if a toxin had been removed from the air. He walked through each room, noting what she'd taken. Clothes. Toiletries. Her laptop. She'd left her wedding ring on the dresser in the bedroom, and he stared at it for a long moment before picking it up and dropping it in his pocket. The kitchen counter held her key, just as he'd instructed. Next to it, she'd left a note. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I don't expect you to believe me or forgive me, but it's true. You deserved better than what I gave you. I hope someday you find someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. He read it twice, then crumpled it and threw it away. Apologies meant nothing. Actions were what mattered, and her actions had spoken clearly for 4 months. His phone buzzed. Thomas. How did it go? She's gone. Papers will be filed Monday. I'm proud of you, brother. That took courage. You okay? I will be. And he would be. Eventually. But tonight, standing in his empty house, he felt the weight of it all settle on him. 7 years of shared history. Good memories now tainted by her betrayal. Plans for a future that would never happen. Children they'd talked about having. Growing old together. All of it gone. But beneath the sadness and anger, there was something else. Relief. Clarity. The sick feeling he'd carried for the past 3 days, wondering if he was making the right choice, if he should try to work through it, was gone. Watching her lie to her parents' faces, watching her try to minimize her choices, watching her make excuses instead of taking responsibility, had confirmed everything he needed to know. She wasn't who he'd thought she was. Maybe she never had been. Or maybe she'd changed. It didn't matter. Either way, the woman he'd married, the woman he'd thought he'd married, didn't exist. Over the next few weeks, life settled into a new rhythm. He filed for divorce on Monday morning, just as he'd promised. She hired a lawyer who tried to negotiate for more of the assets, but when presented with the evidence of her affair, they quickly backed down. The divorce would be finalized in 6 months, the minimum required by state law. He sold the house. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. He found a smaller place across town, closer to his office, and started fresh. New furniture. New routines. New life. Her parents called weekly to check on him. The relationship he'd built with them survived what their daughter had destroyed, and he was grateful for their continued support. Patricia had sent him a care package during the first week, homemade soup, his favorite cookies, a note saying he'd always be family to them regardless of what happened with the divorce. Work became his focus. He took on new projects, stayed late, threw himself into advancement opportunities he'd previously turned down. His boss noticed the change and promoted him to a senior position. More responsibility, better pay, and most importantly, distraction. Friends rallied around him. Some had known her for years and expressed shock and disappointment. Others simply showed up with pizza and beer and didn't ask questions. David, the friend whose phone call had started everything, flew in for a weekend and they sat up late talking about life, betrayal, and moving forward. Any regrets about how you handled it? David asked over their third beer. He thought about it carefully. No. She made her choices in private, lied to my face for months. She deserved to be confronted with the truth publicly. Her parents deserved to know what kind of person she'd become. And I deserved witnesses to the fact that I'm not the one who destroyed the marriage. What about her? Heard anything? She moved in with Julian apparently. My lawyer mentioned it during the asset division discussions. They're living together in some apartment downtown. He took a drink. I hope it was worth it. I hope she got everything she wanted. You don't mean that. Actually, I do. Not in a bitter way. But she burned down her entire life for this affair. Her marriage, her relationship with her parents, her reputation. If that's not going to turn out to be worth it, then it's just tragic on every level. Better that she gets the happiness she was chasing. 3 months after that Friday night, he went on his first date since the separation. A woman from work named Jennifer who'd heard about his situation and had asked him to coffee. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became regular dates. He wasn't ready to rush into anything serious, and she understood. They took it slow, building friendship before romance. 6 months after that Friday night, the divorce was finalized. He received the papers in the mail on a Tuesday afternoon, signed by a judge he'd never met, officially ending his marriage. He stared at them for a long time, feeling a complicated mix of emotions. Sadness for what he'd lost. Anger at how it had ended. But mostly, relief. Legal closure to match the emotional closure he'd found months earlier. That evening, he invited his parents, his brother Thomas, and Jennifer to dinner at his new place. They raised glasses in a toast. To new beginnings, Thomas said. To healing, his mother added. To honesty, Jennifer offered, squeezing his hand. To knowing your worth, he said finally. And refusing to accept less than you deserve. They drank, and he felt something shift inside him. For the first time since David's phone call had shattered his world, he felt genuinely happy. Not the fake happiness of pretending everything was fine. Real happiness. Peace. He'd been betrayed, yes. His trust had been violated. His marriage had been destroyed. But he'd survived it. More than that, he'd handled it with dignity. He'd refused to be a doormat. He'd demanded accountability. And he'd walked away with his self-respect intact. That night, after everyone left and Jennifer had gone home with promises to see him over the weekend, he sat on his balcony looking at the city lights. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hello. Silence. Then, it's me. His ex-wife's voice. He hadn't heard it in months. What do you want? I heard the divorce was finalized. I wanted to. I don't know. I guess I wanted to say goodbye. Properly. We said goodbye months ago. Did we? It feels like we never really talked about what happened. You just ended things. He laughed, a sound without humor. What was there to talk about? You had an affair. You lied repeatedly. I presented evidence. You couldn't deny it. End of story. It wasn't that simple. Yes, he interrupted. It was exactly that simple. You keep trying to make it complicated because that makes you feel better about your choices. But it's not complicated. You betrayed me. I left. That's the whole story. Are you happy? Now? The question surprised him with its vulnerability. He thought about lying, about refusing to give her the satisfaction of knowing he was moving on. But he'd built his new life on honesty, and he wasn't about to abandon that now. I am, he said quietly. I'm genuinely happy. Happier than I was in the last months of our marriage, though I didn't realize it at the time. I'm dating someone who values honesty. I have a job I love. I'm rebuilding my life on my terms. So yes, I'm happy. Another long silence. I'm glad. You deserved better than what I gave you. I did. So why did you call? To say I'm sorry. And to tell you that Julian and I broke up. Turns out when you build a relationship on lies and betrayal, it doesn't have a very solid foundation. He felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just a vague sense of inevitability. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? In a way. Not because I wanted you back or anything like that. But because it means all the destruction was for nothing. You lost your marriage, your parents' respect, your reputation, all for something that didn't even last a year. That's sad. You always were kinder than I deserved. I wasn't kind. I just refused to hate you. Hate takes energy, and I wanted to spend that energy building something new instead of staying stuck in anger. He paused. Is that why you called? To tell me about Julian? No. I called because I wanted you to know that I understand now. What I did to you. What it must have felt like. Julian cheated on me, and the moment I found out, I understood. The betrayal. The lies. The violation of trust. I finally understood what I put you through. I'm sorry you had to learn that lesson. I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone. Even me. Even you. But I'm glad you understand now. Maybe it'll make you a better person in your next relationship. Will there be a next one? Are you going to marry Jennifer? The question was too personal, too presumptuous. That's none of your business. You gave up the right to know about my future when you betrayed my trust. You're right. I'm sorry. I should go. Wait, he said, surprising himself. For what it's worth, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it or because what you did was okay, but because holding on to anger was poisoning me. So I forgive you. And I hope you find whatever you're looking for. He heard her crying on the other end of the line. Thank you. That means more than you know. Goodbye. Goodbye. He hung up and sat in the silence, feeling the last tether to his old life finally cut loose. She was his past. Jennifer was potentially his future. And right now, in this moment, he was fully present. The city lights twinkled below him. Somewhere out there, people were falling in love. Others were having their hearts broken. Life continued in its complicated, messy, beautiful way. And he was part of it all, scarred but healing, damaged but not destroyed. His phone buzzed again. Jennifer this time. Just got home. Thank you for tonight. Your family is wonderful, and I feel so lucky to be getting to know you. He smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes, and typed back. I'm the lucky one. See you Saturday? Can't wait. He set the phone down and looked at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. 7 years of his life had been built on lies. But the rest of his life stretched ahead, and this time, he'd build it on truth. On honesty. On self-respect and mutual trust. The past was over. The future was unwritten. And for the first time in months, that felt not like a loss, but like a gift.